This is a man who accepted his invitation to the International Boxing Hall of Fame. And back here on the Rich Eisen Show in advance of this Saturday night in Staples Center, the latest iteration of Showtime Championship Boxing, which Al Bernstein's been part of since 2003. Good to see you, Al.
It's good to be here. I was actually outraged it took them a few extra years. I was thinking of staying home, but then I said, no, I think I'll go.
Right. But then you saw the people that sometimes were left waiting.
Preceded me, and I said, yeah, maybe it's okay.
Good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Very nice to visit with you again.
Before we get to the sweet science, you, sir, can speak to the level of excitement in Las Vegas, Nevada, of what the Vegas Golden Knights have been pulling off. Have you been to some of the cup games?
I went to some of the games. I haven't been to the playoff games because I've been traveling so much.
Yes.
But I did attend a number of games during the season. And the way it has gripped the city is extraordinary. And as you know, Las Vegas is, a city where there have been a lot of transients, but in recent years, we had more and more people who've been there for a long time. I've been there for almost 25 or 30 years. And there are two things in that city that changed the city. One was we got a fine arts center called the Smith Center, which is extraordinary, and 5 years ago, and that's been a real focal point. And then the hockey team came, the Golden Knights. And it has galvanized the city in a way that is remarkable. Might have done it even if they had just been moderately successful, but because they've done so well, it's just been an overriding force there.
I mean, it's really been an incredible story. That's what I'm saying, like win or lose tonight or in whatever games that have the if necessary asterisk on them right now. This is a sports story that has not been ever seen, I don't think.
Seems like, I know there have been, when you go back and look at the annals of expansion teams, some have done fairly well, but I don't really remember anything like this. And it's been extraordinary. And, the other thing is the organization and the team, and they've done it the right way. It's been a very well-oiled machine.
Now, obviously, in the sport that you are closely associated with, we've seen underdog moments,
sure,
but that just takes one punch, that one split moment.
Exactly.
This has been months long.
You have to, they've been consistently good throughout the season. And then most people thought they would lose to the Winnipeg Jets when they played them. The Jets were considered maybe the best team. And it's ironic that after they beat the Jets, they thought most people thought they might have beaten the best team. But the Caps, who, God knows, whoever wins this series, you can't begrudge the Caps for finally winning a Stanley Cup.
Speaking of beating the Jets, the Raiders are coming to town.
Yes.
So you've got that coming up, too.
It's an extraordinary time in Las Vegas, and there are so many sports fans there. Most people that come to Las Vegas, of course, they know about the Strip and they know about the gambling, but it's become a pretty large and sports-centric community.
Al Bernstein here on the Rich Eisen Show. What in the heck is going on with Triple G right now? Can you lay this out for everybody?
Well, I think my own opinion, and I'm not intricately involved with it, but from the people I've talked to, I think he is backing off the 50-50. He was distressed, obviously, that they lost. They both lost. He lost a lot of money, and the fight went away because of the testing with Canelo. And so they funneled that into being a more hardline negotiators in terms of the money. They wanted a 50-50 split. Canelo didn't want to do that. He brings probably the bulk of the fandom to it. And when Oscar De La Hoya publicly announced we're moving on, I've now been told the Triple G has backed off his 50-50 demand, and discretion is the better part of valor. And now I think they're renegotiating. The question is whether they'll get it done. They had another option in terms of Danny Jacobs, who's a very fine fighter, and they were going to negotiate with Eddie Hearn for him. So my guess would be it's like a 50-50 proposition, whether it's Canelo and Triple G. I think there's at least a 50% chance he'll still make that deal.
Middle of September, you think we're going to see?
Yeah, it would be. He's going to fight. Canelo's going to fight on September 15th no matter what.
So it just depends on, everybody wants to see this fight, correct? Yeah,
absolutely. And we're in an era in boxing where these last several years, more often fights are getting made than not getting made. Often that hasn't always been the case in boxing, obviously. But in this climate, big fights and good fights are more often made, like Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. Good chance that'll be made later this year. And if it isn't made later this year, it'll be made early next year. the sport has done a much better job of that.
Okay, Al Bernstein here on the Rich Eisen Show. Who's fighting Saturday for those who are
Saturday night? We have a very good fight out here, and it'll be the Staples Center will be pretty much packed with people. Abner Mares and Leo Santa Cruz, they fought in 2015, had one of the best fights of the year, a majority decision for Leo Santa Cruz, and it should be an extraordinary fight. It was an all-action fight the first time, no reason to expect it to be less.
We had your boy Morrow here.
Yeah.
What an incredible documentary that is.
Great documentary.
And he... what has it been like for you to sit next to him and see what struggles he might go through off air, and then, as he said, with Mauro Ranallo, using the on air as therapy?
Yes.
In a way, what has it been from sitting next to him?
It's a good question. It's really a good question, and as you are wont to do on occasion, ask excellent questions.
Well, for you to say this to me, Al,
yes,
I will take
but it really is interesting because sitting with him and seeing him, over the last 5 or 6 years since I've been doing the boxing with him, maybe more. There have been moments. He was honest in his documentary, and I'll be honest, where I can feel the angst. I'm sitting right next to him, and I can feel the angst, and I can feel him working through it and trying to make what he does on that broadcast the thing that brings him out of difficult moments. I think he'd be the first to tell you that, there's doing live television. Especially live remote television of events, can be a stressful thing. And it's ironic that that's the thing that he's used as his way of getting away from other problems. So there have been moments where I felt kind of helpless because I didn't know what to do to make everything okay. But he's always performed he's a true professional, and he's always found his way past it. And I love Mauro. He's a lovely man. And at the end of the day, that's the part that's the reason people root for him. Well,
and this documentary as well that people should check out on Showtime Sports that aired just a couple weeks ago as part of Mental Health Awareness Month in May. It really was raw, and him coming here, it was great to have him here. It was pretty neat that
he enjoyed being here. He mentioned it to me, and he really did. And I think it's a story that for people to hear, it is important to hear because so many people sometimes have probably a little bit, they're not as anxious to reach out for help as maybe they should be.
Al Bernstein here. A couple more minutes with Al here on the Rich Eisen Show. 15 years with Showtime's boxing. Give me the highlight. What do you got?
It's been a great time. For me, coming from ESPN, where I had a great run, but where I didn't get to do always the major fights. I did a lot of pay-per-view fights, so I was lucky to be involved in those.
Hold on a second. You and I did a fight.
We did, yes.
Holyfield Moore 2.
That's right.
That felt pretty big to me.
No, we covered it, but I didn't announce it. That's what I'm saying. I didn't get to announce. I did do pay-per-views, but our fights at ESPN were great, but they were, not as down on the level of that. But when I got to cover at SportsCenter with you, that was you just mentioned a highlight of my career.
You don't have to say that, Al.
No, that's it. In fact, I was thinking of retiring the moment we finished that. I said, there's nowhere else for me to go. But getting the Showtime and the level of production, the level of fights that we did, very extraordinary. And we've had great fights over the last 15 years. And
what's your highlight?
But probably the best fight I ever announced was the Diego Corrales Jose Luis Castillo fight in 2005. It was probably the best lightweight championship fight that's ever been held. And it was one of the great fights. And, of course, I did Hagler-Hearns. So for me to say that was one of the best fights I've done, it was like Hagler-Hearns times 3 because it went 9.5 rounds.
And obviously Mayweather-Pacquiao, would that be the biggest marquee?
Yes, and then, that one, and McGregor-Mayweather, for whatever it's worth. I was here with you for that. That was, in terms of sheer event, that was way up there.
Man, we had Larry Merchant on here, and he wanted no part of discussing that. Obviously, I understand there's Hatfields and McCoys in terms of but so many of the purists just, oh, God, that just...
I understand that. I get that, and it was an event. But yeah, the whole Mayweather run, we did 6 of his fights and chronicled the last part of his career. In terms of sheer events, his fight with Canelo, which was an amazing event, those were all larger-than-life events, and those were pretty extraordinary. But the part that is even better to me is the consistent month by month, really good fights that we've had, and especially in the last 18 months, we've had a great run.
And again, 10 p.m. Eastern and Pacific here on Saturday at Staples Center, the latest Showtime Championship Boxing with you. And I totally understand that Holyfield Moore too.
Yeah.
Me, you, and John Saraceno of USA Today at the time. Just it doesn't rank up there. I agree. It doesn't rank up with the fights that you've called, Al. I understand that, but the fact that I got to work with you has always been a treasure for me.
We had a lot of fun.
We
and
did have a lot of fun.
We really did. I remember that. Seriously, all joking aside, I remember that weekend. We had a great time. You were so excited to come and do that.
I was.
That enthusiasm made me feel great because I just loved it. And I'll tell you, I worked with a lot of people when I did the SportsCenter side of it. You know, you, Bob Lee, I could name so many, Charlie, so many people that I loved working with. And I loved channeling their enthusiasm for being there doing a boxing match.
Well, your sweetness in being able, because I didn't really know very much, and you made me feel right at home. You and John did, for sure. But when I first got there, I was legitimately upset. You know why I was legitimately upset?
Why so?
Because ESPN just at that very moment lifted its requirement that everyone had to wear a tuxedo.
That's right. I remember that.
And I'm like, I want to wear a tuxedo.
Yeah.
And again, the fact that here comes this schmo from SportsCenter bitching about not wearing a tuxedo at a boxing event, you laughed about it.
You may have been a little petulant about that. I'm not sure. I can't remember exactly.
I should have shown up with like a Dumb and Dumber light blue cummerbund situation.
That would have been perfect.
Wouldn't you have wanted to do something like that, Chris? I mean, dressing up.
Of course. I love dressing up.
Yeah.
You're just pissed because there's breaking Patriots news.
I'm not real happy about it. I'm not real happy about it.
He's not feeling
That's
too
coming
good.
up. I'm going to take a break.
Foreshadowing.
Good to see you, Al.
Very good
Bernstein.
to see you, Rich.
You got it. That's Al Bernstein. Check out again the latest Showtime Boxing Championship Boxing. Leo Santa Cruz and Abner Maris for the WBA Featherweight World Championship. That's on Showtime, 10 p.m. Eastern on Saturday night.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.